So welcome back. Today we'll try to understand the plane electromagnetic wave propagation in free space or in vacuum. And if we understand it, then we'll uh, use the same theory with some modification. That means the plane wave propagation in metals and then in insulators. So first, today our objective is to write down the plane wave equations in free space, that is in vacuum. And what we do, we'll utilize the four Maxwell's equations. And we know the general form of those four Maxwell's equations. Please consult with your previous day lecture. Uh, and we have also discussed that how those four equations can be modified in presence of different media. Like what would be those four equations in case of free space, in metals, in perfect insulators. So if you remember that if we when we write down those four Maxwell's equations in case of free space, then these are those equations. First one was divergence E. General form was divergence E equal to rho by epsilon naught. Rho is the charge density, but in free space there is no medium, there is no charge, there is no concept of charge density. Therefore, if you remember, divergence E was zero in free space, in vacuum. Next one, I'm not writing the numbers. This is actually number one equation, and next will be number two, etc. But I'm not writing those numbers because of the uh, problem with space. I cannot use a large board here, so I'm not writing those equation numbers. So second one was divergence B equals to zero or divergence H equals to zero. So here I will use electric field to be represented by E and magnetic field to be represented by H instead of B, because I am talking about intensity of the fields. That means electric field intensity and magnetic field intensity. And electric field intensity is written as E and magnetic field intensity is written as H. So I'm using intensities. So this is our second equation. Third equation was curl E. Curl E equals to, either we can write minus del B del T, or we know that B equals to mu naught H for non-magnetic medium. Therefore, it is mu naught del H del T. This is the third equation. Keep writing. The fourth one, the fourth Maxwell's equation was, if I write in terms of E and H, curl H equals to, now the first term on right hand side consists of current density J. But again, in free space, there is no medium, there is no charge, no current. Therefore, it will be epsilon naught del E del T. So these are our four equations. These are the four equations in free space. Okay. Now, why Maxwell's equations are important? Because with these four equations, you can generate all the other equations in electrodynamics, whether wave propagation or any other. Now, one thing you observe, if we look at the third and fourth equations, you observe E and H both are present. So these are coupled equations. Coupled in the sense that both electric field and magnetic field are present. So they are coupled equations. Now, if we want to decouple it, that means I want an equation in terms of space and time. In terms of space and time, I want an equation of electric field only. That means in that equation, there will be only electric field, E. There will not be any magnetic field, H, present. And vice versa. I want an equation in which only H should be present. So how will you decouple it? These are coupled equations, 3 and 4. Now we want to decouple them. So how will you do that? For that, what we'll do, we'll take curl of third equation or curl of fourth equation. First, we will start with curl of third equation. Curl means del cross, that is called curl. So this is curl, del cross we are using. So del cross is your curl. So curl of third equation. So this equals to minus mu naught constant, then curl of del h del t. Okay. So this is the curl of third equation. That means del cross is taken on both sides in simple words. Now we need to simplify it now. How will you simplify? You observe there is now here there are three vectors. Del is an operator, but it's a vector also. So there are three vectors here, 2 del and 1 e. Now there is a identity in a vector that if there are three vectors, say A, B, C, and I want the value of A cross B cross C. I want the value of A cross B cross C. That was in your class 12 standard when you start vector. Triple product of vectors. So in that case, when A cross B cross C is there, this can be simplified as B A dot C minus C A dot B. Sorry. Back cap. Just remember back cap. A cross B cross C. So within bracket, first quantity is B, that is taken outside. What was remained, that is A and C, dot product is there, estimated. Minus, then the third quantity is taken out. This one is taken out. A dot B remains. That one. So just remember back cap. B A dot C minus C A dot B. That is the value of A cross B cross C. And hopefully you understand that this is also a vector. Always remember dot product of two vectors. Dot product of two vectors is a scalar one. That means it has magnitude only, no direction. When you do dot product of two vectors, the result is scalar. And cross product of two vectors is a vector. Dot product of two vectors is a scalar. Cross product of two vectors is a vector. So here A dot C is a dot product of two vectors A and C. So it is a scalar. Scalar means it has a value only. Suppose the value is 5, 10, 13, whatever it is. So that value can be written anywhere. Whether you can write it after B or before B, doesn't matter. Whether you write say 10B or B into 10, doesn't matter. Similarly, here also the A dot B is also a scalar. Again, A dot B can be written before C or after C. Anywhere you can put it. So only the thing is that means this can also be written as A dot C B minus A dot B C. That can also be written. That means whether you write a scalar quantity before or after a vector, it doesn't change the result. True. When A dot C is a scalar and B, C, A, these are vector quantities, which is magnitude as well as direction. So if we use this same formula, same identity for our calculation, we have again this A cross B cross C formula. A cross B cross C formula. So we can use this back cap. That means this is our B, this is A, B, C. This is A, the first quantity A, second quantity B, third quantity C. So if I use that back cap formula, B is taken out. So this del, this one will be taken out first. Then A dot C. Isn't it? B, then A dot C minus. Next, what do we need to write? C. C is E. So don't write now. So this is E. That means C. A dot B. A dot B means del dot del. What will be that value? Del dot del means it is actually, don't write, E del 2, del dot del. A dot A, what will be the value? A square. So del dot del square. So this is what we get. But is it logical? Is it physically possible? You are saying, देखो, when here in this case, whether I have written it A dot B, this A dot B can be written before or after C, no problem, because C is a vector quantity. And A dot B is a scalar. It has a value only. Now here del dot del 2 is a scalar, no doubt. Del 2 is a scalar quantity. Del 2 will be a scalar quantity. What is del 2? Let me write it here. Del 2 means del dot del. What is del? Del 2 is a scalar. I'm showing you why it is scalar. What is del? Del is I del x plus j del y plus k del z. This is del. This is your del dot. Again I del x plus j del y plus k del z. This one. Now dot product. Dot product means I dot I, j dot j, k dot k. These will be 1. I dot j, I dot k, j dot k. These will be 0. So I dot I 1. That means in that case del x into del x. What is the value? Del 2 del x2. First quantity. This is, I am multiplying these two. Dot product. I dot I 1. Del x into del x. Del 2 del x2. Next, I del x with j del y. I dot j 0. No value. I dot k, that is first quantity with the third. First, this one with this one. I dot k 0 again. So it doesn't count. Next, j dot I. This j dot I 0. J dot j 1. J dot j 1. Then del y into del y. What is the value? Del 2 del y 2. Next, j dot k 0. Similarly, k dot I 0. K dot j 0. K dot k 1. What will be the value? Del 2 del z 2. Is there any ijk here? No. There is no ijk. So it is a scalar. It is a scalar. So del 2, which is dot product of 2 del, is a scalar quantity. And it is nothing but second order differentiation. Second order partial differentiation. Del 2 del x2 plus del 2 del y2 plus del 2 del z2. So what I am telling you is that here del dot del, which is del 2, is a scalar, no doubt. Just like here, a dot b is a scalar quantity. But a dot b is a normal scalar. That means it's a value 5, 10, 15, 100, whatever. It's a value only. But del 2, is it a value? No. Del 2 is not a value. You observe, it's an operator. Del 2 is an operator. Operator means it needs something to be operated on. Del 2 needs something on which it will operate. Yes, so del 2 needs someone on which it can operate. That means del 2 or any operator cannot be written after the value, after the quantity. This is our quantity. This is the quantity E. You cannot write del 2 after it. If it was a scalar quantity, like say 10, suppose instead of del, if it was 10, whether I write 10 here or I write 10 here, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I can understand it. E10 or 10E, I understand. Okay, the value is same. But here it is not. So it is meaningless. Physically, it is meaningless. I cannot write it. So what I should write? I should write del 2E. That means, though in this case, whether I have written A dot B before or after C, doesn't matter. I can write A dot B after C or before C. But when the operator comes, this scalar operator must be written before the vector. That means it should be written like this only. We should write del 2 E, not E del 2. Be careful. So write in your note that we shouldn't write E del 2 because del 2 is an operator. It will operate on E. So E should be after del 2. As simple as that. So this one is done. Left hand side, right hand side. Minus mu naught. Now we have two operators. One space operator, del. Del is a space operator because it contains x, y, z. And del del t, which is a time operator. And we know that if we can interchange these space and time operators, result will not be altered. Result remains same. Result remains same even if we interchange the position of space and time operators. That means we can simply write it del del t. I'm interchanging the position. Okay. So del del t, the time operator, is now at the place of space operator. So that why I'm writing it in this way, you'll understand. So what I have done, interchange the position of space and time operator. Del del t comes at the position of curl, and curl, that is del cross, is taken the position of del del t. Done. Now, so far we have used only Maxwell's third equation. We have started with Maxwell's third equation. What we have done, we have taken curl of Maxwell's third equation. We have taken the curl of Maxwell's third equation and we got this thing. Now use first equation, del dot E, 0. As per Maxwell's first equation, del dot E is 0. So this value will be 0. Because del dot E is 0. Minus del 2E equals to minus mu naught del del T. What is curl H? Use Maxwell's fourth equation. That's why I have written it in this way. Because what is our objective? Our objective is to decouple E and H. That means we need an equation where there will be only electric field or only magnetic field. That's why it is written in this way. And curl H, we know from Maxwell's fourth equation, this is epsilon naught del E del T. So we can write del 2E minus, I'm taking del 2E on say or right side and then taking the changes. So minus mu naught epsilon naught is constant, can be taken outside. So what remains, del 2E del T2 equals to 0. Now you observe in this equation we have only electric field. There is no magnetic field. That means we have decoupled the equations. Electric field and magnetic field are now decoupled. But the equation we get is second order differential equation. That is the price we have to. This is the price of decoupling electric and magnetic field. This is the price of decoupling electric and magnetic field. Instead of a first order differential equation, now we get a second order differential equation. So if we start with Maxwell's third equation, we get the plane wave equation as this. Similarly, if we start with Maxwell's fourth equation, this is not required because I can just say similarly, but I'm again showing you for the practice. So the fourth equation, curl H equals to epsilon naught del E del T. That is the fourth equation. Now we'll start with the fourth equation. That means we'll take curl on both sides. Curl on both sides. Okay. Then simplify it. Back tap. So B, this one, A dot C. A dot C minus C. C is H. A dot B. So again I will write A dot B before C. Otherwise, because as same reason, del 2 is an operator, we cannot write del 2 after H. This equals to epsilon naught. Again, since we want to decouple, E and H. So we'll interchange the space and time operator. This one. Again, del dot H 0. Maxwell's second equation. Del dot H 0. This is 0 minus del 2H equals to epsilon naught del T. Maxwell's third equation. Curl E. What is curl E? Minus mu naught del H del T. So what we get? Del 2H minus mu naught epsilon naught del 2E, del 2H, del 2H del T2 equals to 0. So again, we have decoupled it. We have only an equation having magnetic field. There is no electric field, but it is a second order differential equation. Again, the price we have to give for decoupling electric and magnetic field. Okay, is there any query up to this?
So the two equations are same for the electric field and magnetic field.
Exactly, the two equations are similar. Okay, these two equations are similar. Whether you are using electric field or magnetic field, the equations look similar. Now I am writing those two equations. Observe.
No,
This is one equation, and the other equation is these are the two equations. Okay, and you observe they look similar. Their pattern is similar. So why is it? And in fact, this pattern, this type of equations are very common in mechanics. This type of equation is very common in mechanics. These type of equations are called wave equations. That means, suppose whenever wave propagates, any type of wave, whenever a wave propagates, then that motion of the wave is represented by this type of equation. The type of equation is del 2u. U represents the motion of that wave minus 1 by v square 1 del 2u del T2 equals to 0. This equation is very common in mechanics. This equation represents a wave propagation. Suppose you have a straight string. You have taken a string and one end of the string is attached to the wall and other end is at your hand. And it's a stretched condition. So under that, if you give a jerk to the string, a vibration to the string, then a wave will be created in the string. How the wave propagates, that is governed by this expression. Suppose there is a thin tube through which water is passing. Streamline motion is there. If you want to understand how that water wave is propagating, then we need an equation, that equation. So this equation is called wave equation, where U represents the wave, whether it is a mechanical wave like the wave, whether it is transverse or longitudinal wave propagating through the string, or this is the water wave, whatever it is. And v is the velocity with which the wave is propagating. V is the velocity with which the wave is propagating. That means this velocity of the wave. It is the velocity of the wave. So if we compare the general wave equation with the equations we have obtained from Maxwell's equations, these two we have obtained from Maxwell's equation. What have we have done? We have only decoupled E and H from Maxwell's equations and we obtained these two. We have not used any other equation. Whenever we have obtained this, have we used any other equation? No. We have used only Maxwell's equations. If we have started with third equation, then we have used first equation and fourth equation later on. If we have started with fourth equation, then we have used second equation and third equation afterwards, but no other equation. Therefore, still we observe these equations are very, very similar to the normal wave equations. That means if we can compare now, if we compare that, like u was the wave, u represents the wave, then E also represents a wave, H also represents a wave. And if V is the velocity of the wave, then if I compare V with the two equations, then how can I write V? Then V is nothing but 1 by root over mu naught epsilon naught. Now, check it. If I compare the general wave equation with the normal, with the equations we have obtained, then this is the thing we get. Now we know the value of mu naught and epsilon. These are constants. So we know these values. So put the values here, and observe what we get. Let's see. Mu naught was 4 pi into 10 to the minus 7. Isn't it? That was our mu naught. SI unit. And epsilon naught 8.854 into 10 to the minus 12 SI unit. If we calculate it, it comes out to be like this. If we put the values of mu naught and epsilon naught and calculate, then V comes out to be 2.998 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Does it look similar to you? Does it look similar? What is it?
Yes, sir.
What is this? Velocity of light. Don't say velocity of light. Say velocity of light in free space. See. Because velocity of light can be different in different media. So this is the velocity of light in free space. That means when electromagnetic wave or light propagates through free space, this is the velocity. And this is very, very amazing result. Why is this amazing? Because perhaps it tells us that light is an electromagnetic wave. Now, of course, this conclusion will not surprise you nowadays. But think the time, that Maxwell's time. At that time, this was completely an amazing phenomenon, amazing result. Because you observe how we have obtained this value. We have obtained this from Maxwell's equations. And what are Maxwell's equations? They are merely 4 equations taken from different fields of electrodynamics. Basically, what we have used? Gauss law. We have used divergence B0. We have used Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction and modified Maxwell's law. So, that means you have used either electrostatics, magnetostatics, or time varying fields. There is no concept of light anywhere. There is no concept of electromagnetic wave anywhere. You have only considering electrostatics, magnetostatics, or time varying fields. And what you are getting? You are getting an equation which is similar to normal wave equation, and from that what you get is that velocity of this E, velocity of E or velocity of H is nothing but velocity of light in free space.